Hello and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast. The place where we share creative and inspiring learning in our schools. Season 2, Episode 13. Hello and welcome back to Education on Fire with me, Mark Taylor. Today I'm really pleased to welcome Heather Picov, who's the UK Managing Director for Apps for Good. And I first became aware of this organisation at the Tech Literacy event, which was held at the BT Tower just a few months ago, and saw some of the apps that were created by some of the children that were involved in the project, and just thought it'd be a fantastic thing for you to hear and learn about. So welcome, Heather, and thanks so much for joining us today.
Great, thank you for having me.
So can you give us a little bit of a background of the history and the general ethos, and explain what Apps for Good is, and how teachers, especially those in the sort of end of primary school into the early part of secondary school, can understand a little bit about what you offer and how it works?
Sure, absolutely. So yes, Apps for Good started in community centers, actually working with 18 to 25-year-olds. And we grew from there. And it was actually, what was really interesting is there was schools who approached us. And this is actually part of the one of the key strands of Apps for Good, is it is the teachers we work with who really help make who we are. And so we were approached then by a school in East London who said, I really need this for my girls. So we grew from there, working with that school, Central Foundation School for Girls. Then Charlotte's as well came to us and said, love what you're doing, but actually we want to do it in curriculum time. Then we had a school from Scotland approach us as well. So really grown from there. So have grown to 800 schools, 25,000 students this year. So that's been over the last 6 years. So the way that it works is that educators access our materials online. So we have online training, so CPD, and then we have a course content framework. And that's based on 3 key pillars. So student-driven learning, using technology to solve problems creatively, and then providing real-world context. So students pick a problem they want to solve, and then they go through the real product development process that a real entrepreneur would do to really take that idea and see it through all the way to the real product. And it's all about them finding something that inspires them.
And that really is a key point, isn't it? And I think that's so important for learning in every part of the curriculum and in every child and every school. It really is that understanding that if it's something which lights their fire, something which they're really interested in, the rest of it just sort of falls into place. And this seems like that's the key element really for Apps for Good.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, so for young people, a lot within education is where they don't have that freedom to do that. And for us, it is a really strict rule. And it is really hard for young people, and hard for anybody to sort of come up with an idea. But for us, we say to the young people, look at your life, look at what's happening with your friends, with your family. We do have activities like, a really terrible bad day. So your alarm doesn't go off, and, you don't have any hot water. What are the things that happen? And then from there, yeah, exactly. They're driving their own learning. So what they're going to do is hard. Coding is hard. Coming up with a business plan is hard. But if it's driven by something they care about, if it's an end product they care about, then they're more willing to learn.
Yeah, and it reminds me, I've said this during season 1 when I was talking about a project that my kids were involved in their school, and it was about coming up with their own business idea and trying to sell whatever it was they came up with to the parents and the people in the community. And it was just amazing how that sort of concept of they weren't interested in whether it was maths or whether it was English or whether it was design. They split themselves into their groups. They had people that specialised in different things, and they were just absorbed. And I think it is having that central element which just allows them to separate themselves out from, well, this is another school subject, this is actually something which is real life and really important to me now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also for learning technology and learning computing skills, so much of what we want to help young people understand is that this is an application to everything in their life, and that they can find what excites them in computing. So when we start from the point of, okay, this is, you think of it, is it music, is it fashion, is it sport, or is it politics or something like that. But there's a connection there to technology in it, and we're really excited for students to learn that. And then yes, it does, it's great to see how enthusiastic they are, and that kind of light go on for them to say, oh wow, actually, yeah, there is a place for me here. That's really exciting.
And so you said before, it sort of works both sides of the in-school part of the curriculum in terms of helping those sort of core computing ideas, which of course now is part of the curriculum, isn't it? But also outside of the curriculum as well, where the project in itself can be used in a different manner too.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've mapped the course to the curriculum, so it absolutely can be delivered against the curriculum. If that works within the school. So we also have teachers living it with enrichment time, but also as a club. So we have a shorter version of our course, which is 8 to 10 hours, which teachers can deliver within a club, and that works great as well. So really, our approach has always been to give teachers flexibility, because we know there's lots of different classrooms, lots of different ways this can be delivered, and we want to really support that.
And just let's sort of move a little bit further into that in terms of the delivery and in terms of what the teachers actually are required to do and that sort of thing. So the delivery, you said a lot of the resources are online, and that's the starting point, I guess, is to go to the website. But once the project's up and running, how is the rest of the course delivered, and the sort of the relationship between the teachers and the students, and who else is actually providing it?
So we have all the materials online, including the CPD to help support teachers. There's a framework that teachers can use. We've got a lot of resources in terms of sort of quick lesson plans, and all sorts of things to help teachers. We have assessment guidance as well, because we know how important that is for teachers in terms of what they're doing. And then it's a flexible framework for teachers to deliver. Probably one of the key things for us is that we have a group of experts that teachers can bring to the classroom. So these are technology and business professionals that, if teachers are seeing their students struggle with a particular area, or actually sometimes just want to bring in somebody who the students can see is doing this in the professionally, to bring in and help really inspire their students, that's a great thing that they can access. And that's, again, all through our platform. So teachers just need to do a really quick posting of the kind of expertise they need, and when they'd like the person to come in. And we have 1,300 fantastic volunteers who are really keen to help out.
That's fantastic. And you said it really stretches all across the UK, as far north as Scotland and all the way through England as well. So with that number of expertise people, you've obviously got people in every area that you can help cover. What's the cost to the school? What's the cost to the pupils in doing it?
So for all non-fee paying schools, it's free. So that's quite important to us. Yep. And then for fee paying schools, there is a small fee. But yeah, we're a charity. So we're supported by technology companies and large corporations, as well as trust and foundations, so that we can provide this for free to schools. That's quite important for us. And then in terms of access to experts and all the materials we have, everything is entirely free of charge.
Oh, that's fantastic. It just really opens up the door to everybody, doesn't it, then, just to really give them a chance to get involved without that kind of barrier of just having to fundraise or find that from the budgets that are diminishing as we speak in the schools at the moment.
Absolutely, yeah, that's really important to us. We know the pressures that schools are under, so we do everything we can. It's a core pillar of who we are.
Brilliant. You're obviously very established here in the UK. How is it if, for some of our listeners that may be in the US, or we've got quite a few listeners in Australia, how is it from an international point of view, and how is the sort of the development part of the company going forward?
Yeah, so we're growing globally. So taking that slowly to make sure what we do works in other countries. So we've got about 100 schools in Portugal, some schools in Spain and Poland, and some in the US. So going slowly, but yes, that's kind of coming soon. There should be more happening for teachers there if they're interested in getting involved.
That's fantastic. And I've got some of the apps here, which I think are the ones that are part of this year's awards. And there's some really great things here. There's one called Changes, which is information about puberty, created for by girls for girls. I mean, that's a great idea in terms of just, opening up something which is hard for people to talk about sometimes in a way which is supportive for kids. There's one here called Lilies, which is supporting young people dealing with grief. I mean, you just know that these things have got such a great message when they're coming from the children themselves, and things which are important to them, and obviously that's coming through here, and things which they've wanted to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what's so great? I mean, we don't put any requirements on the students in the course. We say it can't be purely for commercial gain, and it can't be purely a game, but otherwise it's entirely open to the young people. And I think that is where you get stuff that us as adults would never have thought of. These are things that people in Silicon Valley aren't tackling, and they are really important issues. And it's our young people saying, actually, this really matters to me, and this matters to my friends, and I think there should be something out there to help them. And then I think the other thing is, young people, which is so great. And I think you hear so many stories on the news in terms of, the negative side of technology and that sort of thing. Whereas here you see young people are really excited to do something good. And we don't have to tell them to. They want to. They're excited to help people. And that's, so fantastic. And yes, those apps you mentioned are brilliant. And we've got an app to help LGBTQ young people, which has been really successful by a wonderful team from Stratford. And then you get apps that are, so we had an app that helps to track and manage cattle on a farm, which is from WIC. And that was from a group of boys. One of them is the son of a farmer. And, he saw, what he helped his family on the farm, and he just saw how, farming super administrative, and how could technology help make this easier for him, for his family. And it's so exciting to see these ideas. And it's, we feel, where true innovation comes from as well. It's these young people who aren't always asked what they think and what they'd want to do.
I think that's really key, and it's one of the subjects I'm going to be covering in one of my seasons coming up soon, is actually talking to the children and asking them their views on education, what they'd like, which is, as you said, it really often doesn't happen, and it seems like an obvious thing to cover. So I did mention that some of the ones I've mentioned were part of the awards. What are the awards, and how does that fit into the programme as a whole?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that for our young people within the UK to work towards. So throughout the year, they're working on the products. We then hold a national competition to select the very best app ideas. So it's a motivation and closure for young people, and a chance for us to celebrate the hard work that our students are doing. So they enter into their ideas. Usually the competition closes around April. We then work with our partners to shortlist the very best ideas. We bring those students down to London. They pitch in front of a panel of dragons, who are usually senior people at startups and large corporations, and just a really fantastic group of people who come and volunteer their time to hear the students' ideas. And then we pick the top apps from there. So we usually build about 6 or 7. So those winners are paired with a professional development agency. We support as well, as do our sponsors. And then we launch the apps on the market.
Oh, brilliant. So those people really do see the sort of the first markings on a piece of paper all the way through to something which they can download and use and share with all their friends.
Absolutely, yes. And something to put on UCAS applications, and just a really, a chance for them to really get their idea out there. So yeah, it's a really, really fun part of what we do, and a nice motivation too. We know that competition can give students a bit of an extra push.
Yeah, for sure. And how are you finding the whole idea of working with schools but as an outside partner? Because it seems to me, and the more of these interviews I do, it's becoming more and more integral really in lots of ways, is partnerships are just supporting children, they're supporting the schools, because you've got the experts in the fields that they're needing to learn actually able to impart the knowledge, and the teachers are almost like a mentor in some ways, just being able to just guide it and support them in whichever way they're developing.
It's just been the core of what we do. We know we couldn't have scaled, we couldn't have the impact, 25,000 students a year, we would never be able to do on our own. And it is absolutely the partnerships of the teachers that's key. And I think we see ourselves as we look at different ways. We can see ourselves as a bridge between, industry, who are keen to, support young people, but also for themselves as a kind of talent pipeline, and sort of making sure that they have a really strong, talented workforce coming in with the right skills that suit for them, and then linking with education, with really dedicated teachers who are excited to do more for their students, and also as an ecosystem. So there's we also partner with other organizations in the space, so whether that's Teen Tech or Code Club, to help support teachers to sort of the different things that they want for their students, and it's really about bringing that together.
Yeah, and I think as we sort of found at the tech literacy event as well, it's all about community. It's all about all these different organisations with their specialities working together, making computing and tech, just because it's so integral to everything that's going on now, and certainly will be in the future. That it really is everyone doing their part as a bigger community, which seems to be a really vibrant and also supportive community. That's the feeling I'm getting as I get more and more involved in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we have the same thing. And we know that there's not one size fits all solution for schools or for young people, that there's going to be some young people who are really want to be coders. They want to focus on that really, in depth in that one skill, but that technology touches everything, and that we also need to be supporting young people who are going to use technology as a tool. And yes, it is just a broad ecosystem and exciting. I think we look at it as a way to sort of break down the bricks and mortars of the traditional classroom and help get outside of that. And that's really exciting for young people's learning.
Oh, it really is, and I couldn't agree with that any more. So one thing I want the people who out there listening to is the fact that we're going to sort of take this full circle. I'm going to also be interviewing somebody who's actually a teacher who's delivering an Apps for Good course, which is really exciting. So we can sort of get their insights into how it works for them and exactly what's involved. So for those of you listening who aren't quite sure what's involved in actually doing it, that's coming up as part of this. And one of the things I'm really excited about is the Apps for Good awards are going to be in a couple of weeks in London, and I'm going to be coming down and interviewing some of the children that have been involved in that. So we'll really also get an understanding of the excitement they had in the whole process and the energy which they got from taking part in this. And I hope as all three of those interviews sort of come together, as a listener, you'll really get a chance to be able to feel what it's like to be involved in this project, which I've heard nothing but great things about, and all the things that I've come across have been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I'm so pleased that you'll be talking to some of our teachers and students, because just to hear from them, their perspectives of how they found the course is super valuable.
So thanks so much for being on, Heather. It's been really nice chatting to you, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at the awards. And I will make sure that we have a chance, as I said, to get this whole community talking about this, and anyone who's actually listening who's been part of Apps for Good, feel free to contact us. If you go to the website www.educationonfire.com, you can leave a comment below this particular episode and let us know your experiences with that. And the starting point for all of those listening who've not been involved, go to appsforgood.org. That's your starting point, and then you can see all the great things that are going on there and how to get involved and find out more. So thanks so much for joining me, Heather, and I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Education on Fire podcast. For more information, please go to educationonfire.com.